now Citrus County's top political podcast.
At some point you look around, and you're the only one.
It's pretty good.
And just like that, the perspective shifts.
Paging Bobby Winsler to the microphone. On in 3, 2.
Welcome in, coming to you from the Concurrent Media Network in the heart of Citrus County. However you're making us part of your day, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio app, or even through the Concurrent website mobile app, we are sure glad you're joining us. Today's show brought to you by the Concurrent, your newest outlet for Citrus County opinion-based news. Check out the Concurrent, read, listen, watch, discuss at theconcurrent.com. Welcome to the conversation. Today's show, once again, brought to you by us. Final day in August. How did this happen already? I'm back to the classroom too. My job as a professor down at the University of Tampa. A little bit more on that topic in topic 2, but if you read the newspaper yesterday, the Parkway is coming through. They hail this a great success for daily commuters, and while I'm only down there 4 days a week, I'm fairly close to a daily commuter. I don't see it. So that would be roughly, if my job was year-round, which it is based on semesters, it would be roughly $1,200 a year for me to do 4 days a week. So it would be, let's just say, $1,500 a year for someone to be a daily commuter year-round. Unless your job is picking up that tab, and a lot of jobs don't, I don't know if that opens up a whole lot for daily commutes, but I will say this, it's going to be a great convenience for the one-off trips down to Tampa. Meeting-wise, we're in a little bit of a summer lull here. There's a tentative budget meeting with the commission scheduled for late next week. The commission has 2 weeks off before the big meeting on the 14th, when they'll decide what to do with Naturecoast EMS. That's going to be our first topic for the day. Inverness City Council is actually not scheduled to meet tonight as usual, nor was Crystal River Council last night. There are 2 tentative meetings for the Inverness City Council on Wednesday and Thursday. It's actually the Planning and Zoning Commission tentatively scheduled for Wednesday. On Thursday, it's the city's Community Redevelopment Agency as well. We'll see if those happen. Both are tentative. Let's get back to the topic of the day. Since I'm back in the classroom now, I'll start with this. I teach a class called Media Ethics, and though I'm not doing it this semester, when I do teach it, part of the class is to teach students how to regulate their emotions. The goal is to get them to recognize when they are experiencing something called cognitive distortions. That's when your intuitive response overcomes your rational thought. How could this be relevant to a media class? Don't you study scrolling Instagram? You probably already know how it's relevant, but here's a little demonstration. Former President Donald Trump. Climate change. Did you feel something when I said those words? Something deep down in your gut, like you'd already reacted in a way that it doesn't really matter what followed because you already knew how you were going to feel based on just those words? That's the intuitive overpowering the logical. The root cause of this, from these cognitive distortions, there are about 12 cognitive distortions, maybe closer to 20, depending on who you talk to. But one of them, agreed across the board, is called catastrophizing. This is doing exactly what it sounds like. It's taking something relatively mundane and putting it into a much worse context. Here's an example. My wife, Rachel, she loves ice cream. And there's this new place in the Winn-Dixie Plaza off 19 near Ford Island Trail. It's amazing. You should definitely check it out. We're there most nights. And if Rachel is trying to make a choice between flavors, and she really wants to make sure she gets it right. Even though she knows it's only ice cream, even though she knows it's all good, and even though she knows we'll probably be back the next night, if she was catastrophizing over her choice, she might say, "Oh my, this is life or death." Chances are you've heard people do this a lot. Catastrophizing happens so often, it's not even worth pointing out when it does occur, which is, now that you know what to look for in it, you'll see it frequently used in conversation and, for that matter, commission meetings. What's much more rare is that, and what's worth talking about, is when something sounds like catastrophizing, but it's actually not. It's actually true. The commission will have a choice to make in 2 weeks, and it might very literally be life or death for some. This is regarding the future of emergency services. Right now, Naturecoast EMS is a nonprofit that receives county subsidies to handle hospital transport service and emergency life-saving measures to operate as the county's emergency services division. The relationship between Naturecoast EMS and the county has deteriorated rapidly over the last few years, nearly culminating in a cancellation of the county contract in late 2019, which led the commission potentially seeking a new solution in early 2020. And then the craziest thing happened. As federal money started flowing in and emergency transportation became overwhelmed with calls as Corona broke out, it was clear changing companies was not in the best interest of the county. And it still might not be, but it needs to at least be considered. The commission is going to raid $2 million that was put into Fire Services Reserve Fund to provide a cash infusion into Naturecoast, probably. What it should do, what this allocation from Fire Services should be, is a down payment on Naturecoast's newest ambulances. After this, the County Fire Services needs to take over all emergency transportation and in-the-field life-saving measures. In the meeting, Naturecoast CEO Scott Brooks argued that the employees love working for Naturecoast despite their low wages, and that they feel a sense of pride in the service they provide. They should. But Naturecoast as a business has had enough second chances. Some counties, such as Miami-Dade, operate life-saving services, such as the bigger ambulance trucks, under the fire services, and transportation for all other calls are delegated to nonprofits like Naturecoast that contract with the county. Let's use this example. Say you think you're having a heart attack, so you call 911. Under my proposed plan, the fire services shows up with paramedics who could rendering life-saving care in a vehicle capable of sustaining life-saving care until you reach the hospital. But maybe they get there, and it's not a heart attack. I don't know, maybe you just had hot wings from Lollygaggers, and then watched a Sylvester Stallone movie. It could be anything. But it's definitely not life-threatening, as though it is uncomfortable. Then that ambulance leaves you there, and Naturecoast EMS, which would now be non-emergency transport, is dispatched and takes the person to the hospital because they're still experiencing discomfort. I don't know all the requirements for these drivers, so I can't say that the meager pay Naturecoast employees receive would be proportional to the requirements of a non-emergency driver. But I can tell you it would definitely be more proportional than the $13 roughly an hour that paramedics are getting now. The job could also be a stepping stone, this job of non-emergency driver, for younger people or those transitioning into the field of paramedics for the fire services as the next step up. On that note, can we please stop condescending comparison of salaries to somebody flipping burgers? I'm looking at you, Commissioner Holly Davis, though she's not the only one. Commissioner Kitchen is bad at this too, and the Chronicle commentators are guilty of this as well. Those are temporary jobs for people too, and the advancement within the corporations that are fast food restaurants is seemingly limitless if you apply yourself, and at least those people are working. This isn't a politically correct, all for inclusion type thing. This is a being a decent human being request. Just stop condescending to flipping burgers. Now, since there is a lot of opportunity here for the county as they consider all options, I know what some of you are thinking. Here's that rhino conservative Bobby talking about increasing the size of government. And it would do that, bringing emergency transport under fire services. But through billing and other cost-saving measures of what fire services already does, there's also at least the possibility that this option saves money while providing a higher degree of service. But we won't know that if we never even have the conversation, and it needs to start from the commission. It truly is a life or death situation in some cases, and I do think fire services as emergency providers with Naturecoast, contracted as non-life-threatening transportation service, does make more sense than continuing to throw money at the continuously failing structure that we have now. You don't want to just put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, especially if Naturecoast is the one coming to pick you up for that Band-Aid on a bullet hole to take you to the hospital. Getting to topic 2, but first, be among the first to advertise with the Citrus County Concurrent. We offer a variety of ways to reach your next customer, including website graphics, audio reads, even the traditional print advertising. Get in early, lock in your rate, even as our audience grows, and it is growing. Special consideration given to nonprofits as well for donation spots. Contact advertising at yourconcurrent.com for more information. That's advertising at yourconcurrent.com to learn more. Phew! I may need to call fire services because I'm fired up today. The next topic is about an abstract concept. And honestly, I don't have a good metaphor for how to ground it in the tangible. It's about confidence. The idea of these podcasts being on Tuesday was that I would read the Sunday commentary in the Chronicle, have about a day to collect my thoughts, and respond to that content from the opinion section on these Tuesdays. When former publisher Jerry Mulligan was writing his Out the Window, this came naturally. The columns would be balanced between the sensible and the absurd, and the commentary would almost always incorporate a larger point about the county, a point that could be argued. New managing editor Jeff Bryan has now taken up the mantle, and in my opinion so far, it's not going well. I think it will improve because though Jeff and I don't really know each other, we have talked briefly at things that he's covered, and I mean, I don't think he'd be able to pick me out of a police line, but I do think he's an insightful guy personally, and professionally, I do think he's a very talented writer. So he'll figure it out. But Sunday's column was about shaving, and only shaving, which is what the problem is. There wasn't a pivot to a larger theme. In high school, I tried stand-up comedy at a school talent show. So while I was rehearsing some jokes on a few different groups of people, I had this one with a punchline. The punchline was, "I'll have whatever he's having." I forget what the full joke was now, and despite its cliche ending, the setup was usually pretty good to get a strong laugh. One time on a group, though, I said the line, "I'll have whatever he's having," and the room was silent. I mean, crickets. Later, I asked my dad, who was always a fair but supportive critic. I said, "I've told that joke a dozen times before. The audience loves it. What do I usually do to make it so funny?" "You ask for whatever he's having," my dad responded. "So what did I do differently this time where it failed?" "You asked for the laugh," he said. Confidence. It comes down to confidence. From the same formula Jerry used of the hyper-personal in the commentary to even the name of the column, the other guy, there's an implied presence of Jerry still being there in his words. But since he's not, and it's Jeff now, it comes across as Jeff wanting to be like Jerry. He's asking for the affection just like I was asking for the laugh. Just be you, Jeff. The people will like you. Maybe not right away, but they will. They'll see what I see. After another concerning part of the commentary section is that it's becoming increasingly apologetic for the Chronicle's own shortcomings as they continue to undergo transformations into a Paxton Media-owned outlet and transition out of the Jerry Mulligan era. This is normal, and in fact, some recognition of the shortcomings may be necessary. I'm back in the classroom now, so some services from the Concurrent are likely to be imperfect in the months ahead, although hopefully you're enjoying this episode so far. It can't be the full focus of the section, though. Jeff's commentary focused on the hardships that the Chronicle is facing in his previous 2 columns, which are the only other 2 he's ever written. My fear is that the first column indicates that he's going to stay with a feel-good range of topics, and that the previous columns were apologies for what happened before. And if you've been listening or reading over the last couple weeks, you know I've said that the Chronicle is a community outlet, but not one that requires a whole lot of thought that goes into its coverage, as opposed to the Concurrent, which I consider to be a thinking outlet. But the commentary right now from the commentary from the Chronicle used to be both a thinking and a community type outlet coverage. But now even from Courtney Stewart's column this week, who is usually pretty insightful, it was just another apologetic piece on the Chronicle's behalf as well. This trend of apologies is as concerning as the trend toward community goodwill without any teeth of criticism or a larger point. The commentary section is a place where the newspaper can and should strive to become thought leaders, not camp counselors wanting to be liked by all the campers or apologizing for when things go wrong. Coincidentally, or maybe not coincidentally, Courtney Stewart's commentary this week used the cliche, the more things change, the more they stay the same, as her pivot to a larger theme. This is the same thing I had done the previous Thursday. The Concurrent's goal is to become more thought-provoking, an idea-leading outlet for Citrus County. And you know what? This Sunday was the most clear indication that we may already be there, although it's a position I don't think will hold for long if the Chronicle ever refines its confidence. That's all from the Bobby Winsler Show. Follow the Concurrent on social media for the latest updates, and we'll be back next Tuesday at noon. If you want to join this conversation, find us on social at the Concurrent Facebook, Twitter, or go to the Concurrent website or mobile app. Post on our discussion boards. Today's show was sponsored by us.